and expect him to chime in. And I'll tell you in the meantime, the gist of this group, for those who have joined in new, each and every month, the goal of myself and Brad was to bring a leader in the industry, someone who's doing crazy production, and hopefully pick up a nugget, from that person, so that we could all learn and grow together and share. Because clearly, I think that's who I am. That's who Brad is. I think as a company, that's clearly who we are. And so far, I think we've accomplished the goal. I had Irene Kashansky in from Toronto. What was his name? Dan? Was that Dan Jersick? Brad, your guy? I forget yes. where he's from. Then we had Kimber in last week. And while we're waiting on, let me know, Brad, if you see Josh chime in. But
yeah, I just got him a text.
Okay, just to tease next week briefly, while we've got a minute on the front end. I've got a young lady coming in from San Diego, and there he is. All right, Josh, give me 1 second, baby. She's extremely impressive. We consider her more a luxury agent here in the area, but I think, again, that's the idea. I want us to learn from everyone, those like Dan, who are probably doing on average 250, 350 a transaction, and other agents like from San Diego who are doing an average of 1.5, 2 million every time they pull the trigger on one. So I think we're going to be in for a treat next week. And without further ado, Brad Johnson, I'm going to let you introduce our buddy, our friend, and our family member, regardless. You know what I'm talking about.
So everybody, if you haven't met his name, father, husband, mentor, friend, #1 probably fan of Alabama, Roll Tide, even though I'm
Roll Tide.
Don't talk to him during signing day because he's a miserable person. But I'll let him talk because he's got a short schedule and want to honor his time.
Yeah, hey, this is really neat. I haven't seen so many of you in so long. So thank you all so much for having me. Ben, good to see you, buddy. How you been?
Doing well, man. Not as well as you, but we cannot complain.
Oh, man, I tell you what, man, everybody has their trials and tribulations. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, my man.
Yep. Good.
So yeah, it's great to see everybody. Is this an ALC meeting? I haven't been to one in a while. For all of you that don't know, I was at Keller Williams for 10 years. I was a former top 10 Keller Williams agent. I cut my teeth at Keller Williams, Dallas Preston Road. That is where I learned about 70% of everything I know. So yeah, that is home for me. So yeah.
Well, and you're always family, like I told you. You're always welcome, and we're glad that really today we want you to chime in and just share what it is what you're doing, because again, most folks on this call, Josh, they can't even comprehend the thousands of properties that you've bought, that you've owned, that you've sold. What's been the secret to your success? What have you learned? What pitfalls have you stepped into? What growth areas do you still have to improve in? We're interested in hearing it all.
All right. Well, this might be a little longer then.
You'll be quick. We're good. You're good.
Yeah. So I started in real estate when I was 18. I actually went to Keller Williams, Dallas Preston Road when I was 17. And Trey Williams told me, he said, you can't really do anything here yet. I was like, can I come to the classes? He was like, I guess. So I started going to what was Camp 443, later became Ignite, and I have no idea what it's called today. But started there, didn't know anything about real estate whatsoever. And I started pounding the phones. That's how I built my business originally. I had a cubicle next to Janice Moore on the first floor, and I made cold calls all day long. In fact, I was so obsessive, I had 2 office phones on my desk, and I would dial 2 different numbers simultaneously, and I would have both phones in my ears. Over the years, we grew the team quite substantially to around 15 people. By 2012, we were doing about 300 transactions a year, and I started investing in real estate. Now, I have a tendency to go big or go home. So in 2012, I bought 2 houses. In 2013, I bought 30, and in 2014, I bought north of 100. And that became an investment business of mine, where I was buying, fixing, and flipping houses. I learned from so many people at Keller Williams, like Tavis Westbrook, who I see on here. Hey, buddy. I started flipping houses and investing, but I started having problems with scale. I was struggling at managing the construction. And at this point, I still had my real estate team going, but I couldn't figure out how to get subs to do what they were supposed to do, or show up when they said they were going to show up at scale. So when you had 40 of them on 40 different properties that are just tapping out, that's a little bit of a nightmare. So in 2016, we launched a software that would identify properties, upside in properties. So if somebody listed a house that had potential to be renovated and sold for more, we would know about it within 3 minutes. So by this point, our acquisitions, we're buying about 250 homes a year. And what we're doing with those homes is we're flipping them, we're holding them, and then we're turning around and reselling them to investors. So one of 3 things is what we were doing with each house. By 2017, we actually decided to cease flipping property, and we solely provide real estate investors with houses. So if you guys are looking for houses, we sell this year, we'll do about 700 houses to real estate investors. So today, what is called Trelli Group, which is our parent company. Trelli Group owns our brokerage, which is Josh DeShong Real Estate. That's our legacy business. That's what we founded. It owns Myers, the Home Buyers, which is our acquisitions arm. That's how we buy houses. And then we own the Trelli platform. So if you guys go on the App Store and look for Trelli, you can actually see there is a marketplace, kind of like auction.com meets the MLS, where you can actually bid on wholesale houses. And so those are the 3 businesses we operate. This year we'll do north of 350 million in house values turning, whether that's investing personally. So we will invest in about 100 million and about 250 million in brokerage. So hope that gives you like a big picture. There's a whole lot going on.
It is. Josh, will you spell that Trelli so we know?
Yeah, Trelly.
Why not E? Got it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I just beat my head against a wall until I achieve something. That's really the secret to my success, just to keep it very straightforward over and over again.
I can vouch for that, being on the team at one point.
Oh, Brad knows.
Yes. Well, I think that, buying that many homes, flipping that many homes, again, most of us at Steel, that's just mind blowing. So what kind of team do you have behind you?
So right now there's a little over 50 of us. We actually grew way too fast. In 2019, we went from 35 to 105 people. And that was one of the worst decisions of my career. But I will tell you the team that I started with, here's how I think about teams now, because how I think about a team versus how I thought about teams back in the day, back like when I was learning how to build and manage people, has drastically changed. If I started all over again, I would pay as much as I possibly could. I would hire the best person, the person that doesn't need to work for me. That's how I would hire. And I would probably go broke for the first 12 months because I would be hiring people that were as equal or better than myself, if that makes sense. So start out very small, but hold your people to a very high standard. This is what I expect. This is what we must achieve. This is our objectives. Don't join a team because you think you're going to make more money. That's a terrible idea. Don't start a team because you think you're going to make more money.
I got a question for you. How do you keep your energy level every day so high and that drive?
I don't know, man.
It's just there.
Yeah. So I have more energy at work than I actually do at home. I'm a completely different person at home. I'm much more calm. At work, I get excited and I get anxious to achieve. So it's just like, I know what is coming. I know what I need to do to achieve. I don't know. I have no idea. And I drink a lot of caffeine. Like, this thing is full of caffeine. So that
hasn't changed. That hasn't changed.
No,
Josh,
what's
besides hiring too fast? I mean, I see some team members on here, mostly individual agents, but give us an idea of maybe an epic fail, something that we can keep our ears and eyes open for.
All right. Here's one that comes up the top of my head. Read MREA. If you don't read MREA, you're not taking it seriously. And I will tell you this, like, I'm so cynical. I was like, for the first 10 years of my career, I was like, I'm not reading that book. I'm not reading that book. That book is not that great. That book is phenomenal. Like, it actually, I was so upset with myself because there's certain little things. So one of the big mistakes I made was I hired a buyer's agent before I hired an assistant. Worst decision I made early on. Because I didn't know how to manage somebody in the first place, much less a straight commission agent. But two, I needed to be focused on lead gen, not management. I needed to be the one going on the appointments, because if I wasn't the one going on the appointments, how could I teach somebody how to go on appointments, right? Like, how could I teach somebody how to do something I had never done? So reading MREA, hiring a buyer's agent before I hired an assistant, being frugal. Again, our attrition in the first half of my career and people was so much higher than it is now because I thought more about how much somebody was going to cost me than what value they were going to bring to myself and the other team members. Right. And that's a very big, like, I had mentors tell me this and I just didn't understand it. And then once I started bringing those type of people in, my mind opened up to the possibilities. So, let's see, what are some other mistakes? Gosh, there's so many. Oh, so culture is way more important than any of us realize. The biggest mistake I've ever made in my career was growing too fast. And, I disregarded how serious culture was. So for those of you that don't know, our culture is very much a team of, we call it a band of misfit toys. We are all scrappy. We have mostly faced some type of adversity or struggle or challenge in our life. We are not, your Ivy League. We didn't go to Wharton. But we are very smart and we challenge ourselves and we push ourselves. And then when we brought in people that were polar opposite to our culture, the teams became the land of the haves and the have-nots. It became the separation of people became just obvious. And then you could actually see where, okay, this half like actually is our culture.
Hey, Natty.
What?
Yeah.
Oops.
So one half of our team was all about us, right? Our greatest strength is our desire to learn. Like, they were all about that. And then the other half was this hodgepodge of people who were very talented and I thought were going into the right seats, but they were going into the right functional seat, but the wrong company, if that makes sense. They just didn't fit here. So I would say also, like, culture is much more serious than we realize when you read a couple books that are like, oh, culture's great. Like, it is a big deal. So and by the way, in January of 2020, that was the hardest month of my life. No, it wasn't. The first half of 2020 was just like punch after punch after punch. I laid off half those people in January and February before COVID. So that was amazing timing. My mistake for hiring them, but it is what it is.
Well, I think we learn, we shift, and we pivot as we need to. And again, I know the story as well as probably anybody other than Brad and Tavis. And to what you just said, would you also attribute, I think, your work ethic to, I'm going to say, your Plano East background, and and the fact that I think even in high school, you were an outcast. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
I've always been different.
Yes.
But simultaneously, I mean, I think everybody's different, right? Like everybody's different in their own way. And I was an outcast, but I made the game about numbers and about action. I didn't make the game about money. I knew if I made so many calls and I talked to so many people, I would win. You know what I mean? You remember this. I mean, I was driving back from Austin the other day and I was like, man, I wonder what Ben's doing.
I'm not going to tell that crazy story, but again, I was wise, right? And I gave you great advice.
Yeah.
I heard that story.
Yeah. I did. Well, again, we're so appreciative of having you, because I think that, everyone on this call, I've seen as many as 36. And I think everyone on this call, we're all leaders in our own certain way. Again, we might not be selling nearly as many homes as you are, but I think we've got to be careful, because we don't know who we're inspiring, right? We don't know. And so I think, Andrew, as I see you nod your head, my buddy, I think we understand that. And I think culture is important. And I think it's always, we need to make sure that we're taking care of business, because someone's looking, right? And I would be devastated if I heard tell that someone said, I saw Ben Baker, man, and that guy just he was ugly. He showed an ugly side that I can't even imagine.
That's never come out of anyone's mouth.
I know. But again, I would be devastated if it did. And I think because of that, we all carry ourselves a certain way. And I think everyone on this call, and majority of you guys are friends of mine, we all work, we all push, and we're going to continue to do that. Again, we try to be very respectful of everyone's time. Brad, is there anything else, or Josh, is there one more, I don't know, parting message that you'd like to?
Well, if anybody wants to message me or has questions for me, feel free to email me. My email is josh@trelly, TRELLY.com. Or you guys can ask here. I'm partial to Keller Williams, Dallas, Preston Road. That's my foundation. So love you guys. Happy to help you guys any way I possibly can. Well,
again, Brad, are you good?
Yeah, I was expecting a roll tide out of that, but I didn't get it.
Roll tide.
Sick 'em bears. It all works, right?
So funny story, Ben. I went to this dinner, and it was like it was basically a sales pitch kind of dinner, but Jerry Jones. So we all got to talk to Jerry Jones, and Jerry comes up to me and I start talking, and I'm like, what am I going to say? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to tell him I'm a Bama fan, and thanks for letting Bama play, even though he got paid like trillions of dollars, whatever. I was like, that's what I'll say. And so I was like, Jerry, I'm a big Bama fan. Thank you so much for letting Alabama play. And he's like, oh, I love Baylor. And he just goes on and on talking about these different people at Baylor. And I'm just like, I'm not going to correct him. So for like 3 minutes, I'm like, yeah, that's great. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Yeah. No idea. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It was hysterical.
Again, that's how big we are. So
there you go.
Yeah. Again, sick 'em bears. So guys, next week, chime in. Like I said, we've got a top agent coming from San Diego that will also bring value like Josh did. Josh, we so appreciate your time. And Brad, you're good?
Yep, I'm good. Thank you, Josh.
All right. Thank you all.
Guys, I appreciate you. And
Bye.
hopefully we'll see you guys next week.
Sounds good. Bye.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
everyone.
Thanks, Ben.
You got it.